Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Liberian Diaspora Forum Weekly Talk Show. My name is Kafumba Kruma, and as always, I will be your host here at Control in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today is Sunday, September 29, 2018, and the local time here in Minnesota is 7 p.m. Last Sunday night, we heard from the Honorable Finance Minister of the Republic of Liberia, Amara Kone, discussing the 2018 and 2014 budget passage with emphasis on speeded job creation, economic growth, poverty reduction, and national development, among others. Tonight, we have come to hear from yet another prominent son of Liberia, a veteran politician, a seasoned lawyer, the national chairman of the ruling party, and Liberia's 166th Independence Day orator, Honorable Councillor Varney G. Sherman. As an experienced lawyer and accomplished politician, Honorable Sherman would speak to several issues of national concern, including corruption, development, the national economy, nationalism, decentralization, peace and reconciliation, among others. He welcomes your questions, comments, dissenting views, and all intellectual challenges, all on one condition only. He welcomes your questions, comments, dissenting views, and all intellectual challenges on any issue or issues of national concerns, but with one condition only, that you be civil and respectful at all times during the conversation. Interestingly, that condition or request is the simple but crucial rule for this forum at all times. With that out of the way, let me once again thank Councillor Sherman for accepting my invitation to come on the show and welcome him to the microphone. Councillor Sherman, welcome to the Liberian Diaspora Forum Weekly Talk Show, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be on it.
Thank you. I was trying to get a hold of you, Councillor, just before the time came. Usually, when our guests come, we give them a few minutes to do introductory remarks. Since you were not told that, if you just want to go straight ahead taking questions, we can do so. Or if you could, do a brief introductory remark, that would be great. That set the basis for some of the things that we intend to talk about.
Look, you invited me to the show, and I've accepted your invitation.
Okay.
Let it be open, and I'll be pleased to answer your questions to the best of my ability. So let it be that. Had I invited myself to your show, I would have had something planned for you, and I would have been glad to give an introduction. But since you invited me to the show, I'm pleased to proceed to the questioning and let me do my best to answer them.
Thank you. That's a fair remark to me. Well, folks, you heard Councillor Varney Sherman, and so I've also opened your question line. That means we got plenty of time to do questioning tonight, as long as we keep it safer. So if you have any question, comment, or concern, please dial *61 on your phone, and your questions will come over here, and I'll get it over to the counselor. If you can't dial *61 on your phone, by all means, please text your question to 612-203-3820. I'll get the text message question, and I'll get that over to the counselor. If that doesn't work either, by all means, you may email your questions to Liberian Diaspora Forum at live.com. I have that email account open right here, right now. So while I wait your questions, or before I take your questions, because some of you have already made entry, let me begin by asking Councillor Varney Sherman. I had the privilege of reading your 166 July 26 Independence Day oration last night, and I must admit, it's a wonderful document. It is also the first Independence Day speech document that I've taken time upon myself to read in its entirety, and I learned a lot out of it. But let me begin by asking you, given the long list of accomplishments you noted in your Independence Day speech, followed by a lot more recommendations for the government to consider, as a national chairman of UP, how do you grade your party UP-led government today then, and why?
Well, I think the UP-led government has done quite a good job. And first, the fact that I headed a political party, the Liberia Action Party, and the fact that I agreed based on the request of President Salif to a merger of my political party with hers is indicative of the fact that I thought that for her first term that she had done a fairly good job. Now, one cannot expect in a political field that somebody will be graded 100% on anything. In fact, I don't think life is like that. And since the merger, the fact that she was reelected as president of Liberia, and that we have so many of our partisans elected to the Senate and also to the House, and the fact that we continue to have a relationship with all the members of the legislature to the extent that we are taking the president's legislative program one step further, is also indicative that the party continues to do well, the government continues to do well. But of course, I'm one of those who, as much as I know that the government is doing well, I continue to be critical of myself and critical of the government to the extent I engage the government and talk with the government on those issues that I think are of concern to Liberian people. And that is in the 26th day oration which you spoke about is indicative of the kind of role I play and the kind of things I do.
Okay. Thank you. That's fair. I'll take the first caller for the night, and for those of you, and so many of you have just joined us, let me welcome you to the Liberia Diaspora for a weekly talk show. Well, let me welcome you back. Many of you are regular callers. So tonight we have the privilege of having Councillor Varney Sherman on the line with us. So if you have any question, comment, or concern, please dial *61 on your phone, and we will get your questions over to the councillor. The first caller for the night, 6498, the last 4 digits, 64998. Would you please tell us your full name, where you calling from, and your question for Councillor Sherman? 6498.
Yeah, my name is Dean Wilson. Councillor Sherman, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you doing?
Yeah, we've had some experiences back with the NTGL when I was at forestry, and you were, in fact, one of the very good persons to know, I think. Let me just go back and just comment on the 26th oration. First off, there are two sides to it. I believe in your speech you rather lifted the voices of many of the Liberians, including myself, who may have some concerns. And it's always good to have the Varney Shermans, to have the Malus, to have other Liberians who, in fact, can speak that way. Because I think by so doing, with those type of situations and the responses some of us have taken time to hear from analyzing your speech, actually, the more Varneys we have, the more folks we have who can raise those issues, the long way we will go, in fact, in helping our country as a whole. That's, to me, accommodation. The other concern I have, if you look at the political interpretation to the speeches, that very well we all know that things are not going well. There are many concerns and there are many issues that people, Liberians everywhere, have shared and continue to have concerns about. My question then is, and some pundits have mentioned this, you've done well by telling us, and those of us who follow the unit of party, the relationship with the chairman and the standard bearer, you've gone well in an attempt. The speech was more of an attempt in saying that you probably have not really have a good merger of what the standard bearer and what the party are doing, in the sense that you raise so many issues and concerns that had you both been working together with one platform, there wouldn't be as much disparity. Do you, in your own, looking back at the speech, do you see the speech as a vindication, or do you see the gap widen between the party and the standard bearer? I mean, is that a fair analysis? And is that speech more or less a redemptive speech for folks in the Unity Party who feel like if this government doesn't succeed, you might not be relevant in 2017? Just kind of throw some light on the relationship with the party, the standard bearer, the sentiments of the Liberians as a whole, and in fact, whether or not the speech was a redemptive effort or not on your part.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Sherman, that was a long call.
Yes, sir. I wouldn't say that the speech was a redemptive effort. The speech was more who I am and the role that I play in the Unity Party as its chairman. When people talk to me about the speech in private, and I say in private because when people try to talk to me about it in public, my attitude has been that, look, I have spoken, there is only one oration, and let others debate the pros and cons of the oration, not me. So now that I'm talking about oration with people in public, let me say it is I. It is not necessarily a redemption of the Unity Party or a redemption of anybody. I think it is a role that I perceived I'm supposed to be playing as chairman of the Unity Party, that where I see the government, our government doing very well, I should praise it and also promote it. And where I see that there's some deficiency, I should be the one to tell the government that. The opportunity arose for me to give the national oration, and I want to tell you already, even though I have a master's degree in law, I'm not an academician like Professor Sakwi Malakba, my very good friend, who was an orator before, or like Professor Elwood Dunn, also an academician. I'm a practical politician, a practical lawyer. And when I talked to the president, one of the things that we talked about is that I was going to talk about my own vision and how I want to see Liberia and the things that I thought should be done in Liberia. And this is what the speech did. It gave credit to the government where credit was due, and it called the attention of the government to certain things that I thought that the government ought to be paying attention to. Are you there?
Yeah, we are here. We're listening, Councillor.
So that is the speech. It was not intended to be redemptive of anything. It was intended to be a practical response to what is obtained in Liberia. Look, in Liberia, there is not a week that passes that several people, newspapers and radio programs don't talk about corruption. Now, while I believe that some of the things, the accusations they make, they have no basis for making those accusations, but people say where you see smoke, there's fire under it. And one of the things I talk about corruption was, look, let us try to change the conversation. And the way to change the conversation is to do certain practical things about corruption. That's one. And two, to do certain practical things for the Liberian people that benefit the Liberian people directly. And I named several of those in the speech, if you read the speech. So I was saying, let us change the conversation so people are talking about the change and the difference in their lives because of our government, and not necessarily because of the corruption people are committing. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Wilson, obviously, if you have a follow-up question, by all means, please dial *61. And I just noticed a few of you just arrived. Let me welcome you to the show. We have Councillor Varney Sherman on. If you have any question, comment, or concern, please dial *61, and I'll take your question over to the councillor. Councillor Sherman, I'm every time Independence Day celebration comes around, I'm personally troubled by the oration, and just a little part of it, the way it is being celebrated. Often, many other orators before you, and just like you pay a lot of tribute to the founding fathers of Liberia for taking the decision that they took and declaring independence on that day, 1847, July 26th. Now, I'm usually left to wonder, how come we don't acknowledge those who live in Liberia before Liberia was Liberia, before the settlers came and before the independence was declared? Or is it because since it's Independence Day, those who made that declaration must be the only one to focus on at that time? Or there's just no way, that we can accommodate, make some sort of reference to those who lived in Liberia before that day?
I guess they are what orators have looked at is who were the actors, who were the players, what motivated them to declare Liberia as an independent country, and what were the risks that it took, and that's what I talked about, and the courage to declare Liberia independent, even though the country continued to be dependent on the American colonization society. So, and again, in my oration, that was just a very small part of the oration, and it was just acknowledging those major players, not necessarily denigrating or making irrelevant Liberians who were met on the shows. They played a part in the entire process, but there were some main actors who actually were involved in declaring Liberia as an independent country. So it was not intended to make anybody irrelevant or to denigrate anybody. We all know the contributions of the various actors in the process, but there were these major actors, people who actually signed the Declaration of Independence. You don't hear much about them, so we try to give them a tribute once you are a national orator. That was it.
Okay. Thank you. Folks, once again, thank you for coming and welcome to the show. If you have question, comment, or concern, please dial *61. I have the privilege of talking to Councillor Varney, Sherman. All of us have the privilege. He's with us tonight. So now, Councillor, let me still talking on the speech here. I read a speech last night, and like I said, I took a lot out of it. For instance, where he talked about sending college graduate, all of our college graduate, to the counties where they are now originally from, as a way of, alleviating the pressure of Monrovia. I would love to wonder, how do you suggest we do that? So, form of national service, or how do you suggest Liberia do that?
Well, the theory is that we need to be able to integrate our people and allow our people, especially college graduates, to be aware of other parts of the country from where they have never been before, to be able to acculturate themselves to other tribes, other than their tribes, and we thought, and also like you said, to take pressure away from Monrovia. Now, yes, one way to do it is a national service corps. Another way to do it is to give people incentive. That those people who enlist into this program, after serving the program, they will be guaranteed jobs or guaranteed certain other privileges. So there are many ways to go about it, but the entire theory is to get college graduates to go outside of Monrovia and seek employment. And by doing so, they are able to mend the different structures and systems of the country in those parts of other parts of Liberia. For example, there are so many schools in Liberia today that don't have teachers. I'm talking about elementary and secondary schools that we do not have teachers. If we can get young college graduates to go to these different counties and serve there as teachers, that would be a fantastic thing. Look, when I was a young teenager in Rabasport going to school, we had a Peace Corps volunteer there called Tom Wheeler. I don't know where he is today. But Tom Wheeler got himself so integrated into VAR culture, you wouldn't believe it, that for the time that he was there, Tom Wheeler learned to speak VAR. Tom Wheeler learned to write the VAR script. I also know another one who was my teacher, Mr. Cllr. He was my teacher in high school. Cllr went there, and Cllr studied the Liberian people. Cllr studied the VAR people. And to the extent that when you are a Liberian and you are speaking to Cllr, Cllr speaks to you only like, Liberian English. And you wouldn't believe it, he had written a book on Liberian English. So what I'm saying to you is that if we get our people, our college graduates, to go outside of Monrovia, go to other counties, integrate themselves into other societies and into other tribes, we make ourselves better people. We make ourselves, we service the various systems and structures in those counties, And more than that, what do? We enhance reconciliation and integration of our people. Look, these people are going to, if you are from the Cllr tribe and you find yourself in Cape Mount, there's a likelihood you may marry a Cape Mount girl. All right? And of course, then there's integration. If you are from Nimba County, you are Mano and Gio, and you find yourself in Maryland County, there's a likelihood you may marry a Crew or Gribble person. Even if you don't marry, you form relationships. You understand and appreciate the other culture, and that makes our country better. And this is not a one-year thing. This is something that will, at the end of the day, we want to evaluate after 25, 30 years of the program to see how well we did. But we have to start now.
Yeah, you suggested 3-year mandatory with a possible extension, a renewal of 2 years, 2 additional years. And I think
that's for the individual. But the program itself, over 30 years before we can see the gains of it.
Okay, and you do also see this as a way of fostering genuine peace and reconciliation among our people, don't you?
Of course, certainly. Look, the more we understand each other, the more we live together, the more we become stakeholders in the future of our country, then we are promoting peace and general reconciliation. That's very important. Look, I agree with construction of roads, construction of bridges. These things are very important. Infrastructure development is important, but development of the individual so that he can become a productive member of society. I think that's very important. Making a significant difference in the lives of the individual so that they have a stake in the future of Liberia. I think those things are very important.
Okay. Well, since you talk about, the construction of roads and, water, electricity, and all of that, let me just keep you there for a second because go look into the same speech. You, as much as those are all commendable projects, and we are told that they are all on the way, and pretty soon, at least December of 2015, the latest, we are promised to have electricity. But yet you talked about, at least some installation of hand pump, and solar energy in every town, every village. I mean, are you suggesting that before the bigger renovations that are ongoing right now, or as an alternative to what is it?
I'm saying simultaneously. These things can be done simultaneously. I don't expect that by the end of the term of President Salif, we have potable water in all of the villages and towns of Liberia. No, that wouldn't happen. But we can have hand pumps. I think, and we can afford hand pumps. And I think we ought to invest in that. All right? I don't expect that at the end of President Salih's term we have electricity in every part of Liberia, either generated by hydro or diesel fuel, whatever it is. But we can have solar lights, solar lamps, so that at least the young people will be able to go somewhere and study. So that if there's a need for a meeting, people can go somewhere and meet. So there's a need for a conference, whatever, people can go there and get it. At the minimum, they can charge their cell phones. These are small things, when done, make a tremendous difference in the lives of the Liberian people. We can have toilets all over the villages of Liberia, so that our people don't need to go to the bushes.
Okay. Sure. Thank you. Folks, so many of you have just joined us, and I mean so many of you, as anticipated. We like to welcome you to the Liberian Diaspora Forum Weekly Talk Show. We have Councillor Varney, Sherman, Chairman of the ruling party. If you have any question, comment, or concern, by all means, please dial *61 on your phone, and I will get your question over to the councillor. Attorney Dean Wason has a quick follow-up question. Let's see what he has to say. Mr. Wason, welcome back to the show.
I'm sorry, I don't want to seem like I'm monopolizing, but hopefully as we get more callers in, we can.
I got callers.
I wanted to find out. Yeah, I wanted to find out from. I talk about the speech being redemptive, and he says, "Well, not so much so." But let me get a little bit preemptive. Councilor Sherman,
don't keep it brief now.
No, let me be preemptive a little bit. I'm talking about elections 2015, because I understand that there are some speculations about the councilor and and the senatorial post. But I'm just saying I'm trying to be preemptive. But I want you to touch on three key areas. I know, and I commend you again for the once a Liberian, always a Liberian slogan you really put out there when you spoke. I remember that in the speech also, because clearly we have countries smaller than ours, population over 10 million, and we're fighting who's citizen and who's not for a small country that is about 4 to 5 million. So I think that's a major distraction when you put it to rest when you say once a Liberian, always a Liberian. But my concern, Counselor, is that, and again, I'm being preemptive, some of these laws in the first branch, we always talk about the executive, the salaries over 15,000, 20,000 for public operation heads and some of the autonomous agencies. We saw it started with the George Soros Fund when the Unity Party government came in. Then the legislative branch picked it up. Now we got a bloated, expenditure or budget that just seems to be high on the salaries. And do you envisage somewhere in there in the future where we could say, well, 5,000 across the board for all government ministers and public corporations and autonomous agencies? Because back in the day, you got one check, 3,000-4,000 a month as minister, and that was it. Gas, everything came out of it. That's one thing I wanted your view on, cutting some of that wastage down. And I was at a forum.
Let's just take that one so other people can have a chance. Let me address that, Councilor. Councilor Sherman.
Yes, I envisage the day that we'll go back to the in terms of salaries and benefits, we'll go back to the years of Cllr or even though that once you were a minister and a salary was declared to be X dollars, all ministers earn the X dollars. All right? And not some ministers earning something more than other ministers, or some deputy ministers, even in the same agency, earning more than other deputy ministers. I don't think this is good for efficiency. I don't think it's good for morale in a public service. I also envisage the day that we'll look at these autonomous agencies in terms of their productivity, in terms of actually the work that is done, and so that salaries are set to be commensurate with the work that's required to be done and the productivity. But again, I think, like you yourself said, when George Soros was assisting and other organizations were assisting the Liberian government, the impression was that, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe the impression was that those of us who remain in Liberia all these years of difficulties, that we lost our capacity to perform with efficiency and with productivity. And so there was a need to bring people from outside of Liberia to bring other Liberians back home to do the work. Now, taking a Liberian from America back to Liberia to do the work, these Liberians demand certain things. I have a mortgage here to pay. I have a family to support, blah, 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 blah. I'm earning X dollars here. If I must go back to Liberia, I must earn a similar amount of money. Now, well, the George Soros Fund was there, and the United Nations organization itself started supporting things like those. That, to me, has gone to the position where it's becoming illogical when you find people at the national oil company, some of them earning $15,000, $20,000 a month. Now, that is going to the level of being ridiculous. And I foresee, like you say, the time that we'll realize that we ought to put a break to it, okay, and do things that are reasonable and palatable and acceptable to the Liberian people, looking at the productivity and the work that's actually being done. Are you there?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm here, Councilor. Thank you. We'll take the next caller. 1522 1522. Your name, where you calling from? Your question for Councilor Sherman. 1522.
My name is Steven Jalopler. I'm calling from the Chicago area, Illinois. How are you, Councilor?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm all right, man. Thank you. I just want to say thank you for your services to our country and all that you continue to do as a national figure, somebody who continues to serve our country. I just got a few direct questions for you, sir. First of all, I would like to know, if you don't know, just tell me you don't know, and that's fine, too. I just want to know, because I'm a Liberian and I want to know. And these figures to me means a lot about where we are going as a people and as a country. Do you know, just from a definitive standpoint, what is the median income of our country right now?
No, I don't.
Do you know what is the average tuition with respect to how much a high school student pays to get out of high school right now, private and public?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you know what is the unemployment rate of our country right now?
No, I don't.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the level of honesty. I was saying these things because you did mention about how roads and bridges may be important and how significant they are with respect to the infrastructural development of a country. But in your opinion, and I must ask, sir, I do agree with you, the most important level of improvement, in my opinion, and you share that as well, is the human developmental aspect of any country. And in my viewpoint, integral or very essential, almost indispensable to that particular aspect of any country is the educational pursuit or investment that our country does with respect to how it educates its people. You know, and that's why I brought this point up to ask you, because one thing that has personally frustrated me as a Liberian, and mind you, I haven't been out of that country too long. I left maybe 14 years ago. It may seem long to other people, but that's not too long. The moderator and I were schoolmates, actually classmates in high school. So I'm talking about just in the 90s. You know, and it was relatively cheaper at the time, even factoring in the rate of inflation to go to high school. Now, when I talk to people in Liberia, especially in private schools that we went to, the tuition seems so very high. And I'm thinking to myself, we as a country, if we want to improve the human quality of life, education, which of course becomes very important to that particular aspect, how is it that education is almost unaffordable for a lot of people? That's my point. I mean, I understand the UP government. I'm going to finish on this point. I'm going to finish on this point. I'm sorry. This is the last point I'm going to make. I understand the UP government, led by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, took over a very difficult job. And unlike a lot of people, I'm not faulting the government all the problems we have in our country. But I'm just saying if there's anything the government can do, at least is to educate our young people at rates that are affordable for most Liberian families. And I'll let you go ahead and just respond to that.
But let me just interject something. I deliberately said no, I don't, because I didn't want to misinform you. I had not read about that information before I came onto this program. But if you live in Liberia or you visited Liberia and stayed there for any appreciable length of time, just the young people in the streets during the hours of school will make you conclude immediately there's something abnormal about our system. The young people that are selling in the streets during normal school time would make you like that there's something abnormal about our school systems. Now, recently it was in the papers that the entire Catholic school system, you know what I'm talking about, right? The entire Catholic school system was given a subsidy of $50,000 in the 2013-2014 budget. That's the subsidy the government offered to them. You know what the Archbishop did? He returned the money. He returned the money. In essence, he's saying, if you want to subsidize us so that we can reduce the burden on the students, you send us $50,000, then you're not serious. You can't be serious. I don't know which private school you went to, but you and I know from your experience here over the last 14 years that the cost of living has gone beyond the sky. The cost of educational materials beyond the sky. Salaries for teachers, good teachers, beyond the skies. So unless government subsidizes these private schools, if the ones remain open, they have to do what? Pass the bill on over to the students. And that's very unfortunate. Here's another situation we had recently. You probably heard about it. Every student, according to the University of Liberia, who took the entrance examination at the University of Liberia failed. Failed miserably. Now, what can you say about our educational system? So yes, we have some serious problems there. Honestly, we have some serious problems there. And like one of the things I suggested was we need to invest in our system of education. More importantly, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of young people who fought in a war or who for some reason or the other couldn't continue their education. And there's a need to send them to some kind of training school. We need plumbers, we need electricians, we need masons, we need iron builders. All of these things are essential for our country. And there are so many people, thousands and thousands of young people who could be sent to these alternative institutions for skill training and be able to mend our economy. So I agree with you.
Okay. Thank you. So I agree with you, Stephen. Folks, those of you who just joined us, I'd like to welcome you to the Liberian Diaspora for a weekly talk show. We have Councillor Varney Sherman on the line with us tonight, and if you have any question, comment, or concern, please dial *61 on your phone. We'll get a question over to him. Councillor, still on your speech, though, you know, it's interesting when I started contacting you to come on the show. I must admit, I started talking to you before the speech was given, so then I had a different idea altogether, and then we waited, you know, you were busy until the speech came along, and now all of a sudden is the subject of the entire show, which is not bad to me. Now, so still on the speech, you talked about county development fund versus revenue sharing. Now, even though you acknowledge that county development fund that is happening under this government is something new, that you know apparently it's never happened before, and yet you seem to be so much interested in revenue sharing, especially for counties that that have natural resources, where money is being made. So, two concerns for me here, with respect to this county development fund and revenue sharing. One, shouldn't we give the county development fund program, since it's still a new program, shouldn't we allow that to see how far that will go, whether in fact that would be a good thing to do, versus replacing that right away with revenue sharing, since in fact not every county in Liberia is so rich in natural resources. I mean, shouldn't we stick with the county development program at least for now?
Look, Mr. Morrow, you're speaking to me as though you and I came from Liberia yesterday. In this country in which you live, are you telling me that each state is as rich as the other state?
No, sir.
Of course not. Of course not. Now, when I talk about revenue sharing, I'm saying that we ought to recognize some level of ownership of the natural resources, some vested interest of the people of a particular county in the natural resources that come from their county. Now, we have a system today, and that's the system we've always had, that says all natural resources are for the Republic of Liberia. Whether it's under the ground or above the ground, it's for the Republic of Liberia. Revenue from the from the exploitation of the natural resources go where? To Monrovia. And Monrovia decides how to spend it. Now, I'm saying we can change it. And in changing it, try to do what I call simultaneous development of the country. That is, every ton of iron ore from Nimba County, let the people of Nimba County have a vested interest, an interest that says that a percentage of the revenue from that ton of iron ore will remain in Nimba County. For the people of Nimba County, for the development of Nimba County. Similarly, every tree that's fell from the forest of Grand Jide County, a percentage of the revenue will remain there. For the people of Grand Jide County, for the development of Grand Jide County. Now, when Bong County that has bomb mines and Nimba County that has Man Nimba, when one county sees how effectively another county is using its resources, it develops what? Competition. And that competition brings the best out of our people and out of ourselves. What you call county development fund is the government again dictating to the counties. Here is so many $1,000. Do what you want to do with it. And it's across the board. It doesn't take into consideration population. what you call it county development fund. The government does have something also called social development fund, which means every concessionaire from a particular county has to pay a social development fund annually, and that goes to the particular county, or wherever you're operating, it goes to the county from which you are operating. But I'm talking about the revenue from natural resources. I even go far to say, look, we ought to even start on a pilot basis in terms of cities. Why is it we can't do like they do here? That real property tax is a local tax. If real property tax were a local tax for the city of Monrovia, intended to be used for the administration of the city of Monrovia and for providing services to the residents of Monrovia, that town will be much cleaner. Services will be much more effective and efficient. And it will be in Banga, it will be in San Nicolas, it will be in Ganta, it will be in Sacré-Pierre, it will be in Rabasport, it will be in Greenville. You know what I mean? But you are empowering local people. But for some reason, government after government sees itself to say, if we do empower local people by giving them independent sources of revenue, then we are relinquishing some of our power. And people are not looking at what the good it will do us 10, 15, 20 years hence. I'm not asking for substitution of anything. In fact, I'm asking for complementary methods of improving the lives of our people and making a difference in Liberia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that clarification means a lot. I thought you wanted the county development funds replaced with revenue sharing, but thank you. We will take a quick follow-up question from Stephen here, and then we'll move on with the discussion. Doppler, welcome back to the show. What's your follow-up question, quickly?
I wasn't actually. It's not even a follow-up question, but I just gotta say, man, Councilor Sherman.
Yes, sir.
You are doing a good job, man. You speak like you're speaking from the opposition party. Actually,
No.
sense a level of honesty.
Unity Party.
I sense a level of honesty and a clear-headed intellectual qualification and clarification from you that impresses me. You know, a lot of the things you are saying are things that I deeply agree with. Your points about revenue sharing and county allocation of funds and its relationship to natural resources and the percentage that goes along with that. These are all things that I've sat in my living room thinking about and thoroughly over the past few years. So I just got to say, it's not a follow-up question, man. I mean, I am, to be very frank with you, not the easily impressible guy on earth. But
all right, I gotta let you go. Your commendation is well taken. Thank you. Even though the revenue sharing thing, I think there's a lot of good to it, but I also happen to believe that there'll probably be a slippery slope leading onto other things, perhaps including the election of local authorities and all of that, and we cannot forget that the form of government, the system of government we have in Liberia is certainly not exactly the federal system of government here, so we can make those direct comparisons.
You also want to interject. Yes, there's a federal system of government for the United States, but every state is a unitary government. Within each state is a unitary government.
True.
So if you were to take any one of these states as one of those that Liberia should be patterned after, you will still find that there are things that are done in this country that we could take and change it for our own circumstances and make it better for our people. Now, what is the election of paramount chiefs and when
city mayors?
Of them you are appointing superintendents? And what is the election of paramount chief that has absolutely no economic power? That depends on a salary from the central government, and everything he does is money from the central government. We need to change those things. You are talking about the 21st century, 13 years gone.
All right, Councilor. Thank you. Let's take another call out here. 5500-5500. Your name, where you calling from, a question for Councilor Sherman. 5500.
This is Asmana Randolph from New York. Councilor,
yes, sir.
Who two Liberians could you consider for the next presidency of Liberia? of course, not including you and Salif, and why these two?
Honestly, I hesitate to answer that question. I think it's a little too soon to start putting names of persons out there who could be good candidates for the Republic of Liberia, for presidency of the Republic of Liberia.
Okay. Was that it, Mr. Jabata?
Well,
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. What was it?
Yes, that is answered, but I would tell you, if we cannot start looking at the presidency for the continuation of what is going from his party standpoint, if we cannot start looking at them, and we have to look at them at the last minute, then I don't trust him. That's my opinion on that, because we would like to be investigating those that he, as a kingmaker, are considering. That is, I will come back and ask some more questions.
Okay.
That's
Please
my opinion on that.
But let me tell you something. For example, in the Unity Party, our Constitution provides that at least 1 year before a general election, we should decide who our presidential and vice presidential candidates will be. So you have a full year to evaluate them. And also, as a matter of policy, we want to encourage some of the best of us so that people realize that the governance of the country is not just the presidency, it's also the legislature. So while it's true that the office of the presidency is very, very important, we should also acknowledge that the legislature is just as important. And again, there too, we have an obligation to name our candidates at least 1 year in advance so that you will be able to evaluate them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Now, believe it or not, I have a copy of your speech right before me here on the decks. But let's move on to TRC, Councillor Sherman. TRC, according to your speech, you don't support the TRC in its entirety. There are provisions that not only do you not support, but you call them illegal, and there are other portions that you strongly believe that ought to be implemented. So, can you please tell my listening audience those provisions that are not only implementable, but they are illegal, and that you've long been available to go to court to take on? What are those provisions, and what are the ones we ought to be implemented?
Now, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was mandated to find out those people who violated Liberian law, international humanitarian law, and to make recommendations as to how we can reconcile ourselves with these people. Now, the Truth and Reconciliation came up with a long list of people who were deemed to have violated Liberian law, and then made recommendation as to what their penalties should be. Now, you and I know that's not their authority. That is not their authority. And in fact, that authority couldn't be exercised by them. And I make the one that I took up as a situation in Liberia and talked about it is that they said that President Ellen Salif participated in the civil conflict, and that a penalty for participating in the civil conflict is that he should be banned from holding public office. But under what parity of reasoning? Under what law are they making that kind of recommendation? If President Salif participated in the civil conflict, there is already a body of law called our penal law that tells you what are the penalties for that kind of conduct. And nowhere in those laws they said that a person should be barred from holding public office. Nowhere in the laws. What was the reason for saying that to President Salif? Because the only criminal offense for which you can forfeit the holding of public office or be disqualified from holding any public office is treason. It's treason. Now, if you are involved in armed insurrection, that's a second-degree felony. If you are involved in advocating armed insurrection, that's a second-degree felony. If you are involved in espionage, that's a second-degree felony. So that's a first-degree felony. And none of these provide that the president should be barred from holding public office. So this, in fact, that's one of the things I said, that the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, went a little bit amiss, and that if they tried to implement those recommendations, they were illegal, they had no basis in law, we would challenge them. But there are many other parts of the report that we ought to take into consideration and do something about. But when everybody is concentrating on the penalties that have been recommended based on the report of the TRC, we now run the risk that the TRC report is becoming irrelevant. Nobody wants to touch it for fear that if you touch it with all those sensational powers being implemented, then you are going to be criticized as being discriminatory. For example, for your own benefit, in that TRC report, there is a dual citizenship recommendation. Why aren't we implementing that? What's wrong with implementing that? In that TRC report, there is a provision for compensating those who are considered to have received the worst of the atrocities that were committed in Liberia. Why aren't we doing anything about that? In there, they talk about the village Palau system, discussing the problems, discussing the atrocities, and trying to reconcile with one another. Why aren't we implementing that? So there are so many things in the TRC report that we need to look at, that we can implement. Other than that, why were so many millions and millions of dollars spent on that exercise? Hope you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. So those are the things within the TRC report that are illegal, that the commission had no mandate to include. And what you just talked about, and then I do believe also the report talked about, or at least has a provision that speaks strongly against corruption. So if we were to implement those parts that you consider to be the good part, obviously that would be part of it. While on corruption, I noticed from the speech that you are really, like many other Liberians around the globe, you are really troubled by, the public outcry about corruption. And also here, you talked about the need for the alien-led government to do a good job at educating people, the PR job at, letting people know the good job they are doing, otherwise they will go unnoticed. So my question is, do you feel that the government is really doing, a considerable amount of job in fighting corruption, but it's not being reported like it should, or they're just not doing enough, not as much as you like to see in order to stamp out corruption out of Liberia?
No, when I said that some of the things that the government is doing are good, but the public does not know, I was talking about the infrastructure development, building of roads, bridges, and extending electric power to different parts of the city of Monrovia and other parts of the country. Look, honestly, there are people in Monrovia who do not know that the Cllr road has been paved. I talk about the pavement of the Cllr road because too many people know that was one of the worst roads in Liberia. It has been paved, and there are street lights in Cllr.
Yeah,
inside Peensville, GSA road has been paved. Inside Peensville, so many other roads have been paved. The road to Nizo have been paved. So people don't know about those things because the government is doing these works and people are not being informed. I'm not so sure that enough Liberians know that the road from Cutting Tree to Buchanan has been completely redone. completely redone. It's the responsibility of the government information machinery, whatever it is, to give that information to the people. And to do that not once, but throughout, on a regular basis, so that people are aware throughout the country those things that the government is doing. On the issue of corruption, what I tried to get across was that, look, it is a good thing that now we have a Liberian Anti-Corruption Commission, but I also know that Cllr has his National Force for the Eradication of Corruption. You know that, right?
Yeah, I heard about it.
Cllr had his National Force for the Eradication of Corruption. That force was there on the Dokim and accused the Cllr government of rampant corruption. So I'm saying, even though the institution is there and laws have been passed, but this institution needs to be given fuller support, so that it can do the work for which it was established. And one of the things that I say in that speech, if you read it, it is not good for the institution where it comes and says, look, some minister declares his assets, but will have a problem with his assets. And then there is this a radio debate between that minister and the commission. Immediately, the ordinary man begins to what? Question the credibility of the commission. We need a commission that's effective, but for it to be effective, it has the country has to invest in it and trust that it will pursue those who are corrupt.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a text message question here. It's a very brief one. The question is, Councillor Sherman, have you discussed some of the things you talked about in speech? Have you discussed some of those things with President Salif in private, or was it just a one-time thing for the Independence Day speech oration? And if it was, what if you had not had the chance to be the orator? So how would have Salif known your position?
First, I'd like to say that on the day in which I gave the speech, I believe the president said she wished she had asked me to give the speech 3 years earlier. And if I had given the speech 3 years earlier, maybe some of the recommendations that I had made would have been implemented by then. Subsequent to the speech, the president wrote me a letter inviting me to work with her to ensure or facilitate the implementation of some of the recommendations that I had made. Am I clear on that?
Yes, sir. Yes, you are. I hope whoever sent the test, the listener, heard that too. Folks, so many of you just joined us. Let me welcome you to the Liberia Diaspora Forum weekly talk show. We have Councillor Varney Sherman on the line, and as usual, if you have any question, comment, or concern, please dial *61 on your phone, *61 on your phone, and we will take your question over to Councillor Sherman. Let me take this caller. I hate to take one caller too many times. I feel that, but never mind. I will. Jopler, welcome back to the show. What's your follow-up question? Very quickly.
Oh, is this me? You talking to me?
Yeah. This is Friday night.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, quickly.
Okay. I just wanted to talk about the issue of corruption and ask a quick question to the councillor, the chairman of the UP. I think, and I'm going to be really brief. And this is a point that I've thought about for some time. I just think on the issue of corruption in Liberia, I think we tell one part of the story and we don't tell that. We don't tell the rest of it. In my view, is we tell people that money is stolen, that certain person in government steals a certain amount, and maybe he or she builds a house or sends his kids to America or does whatever he or she wants to do. What we don't tell is that money that he or she has stolen supposed to go towards or child education somewhere in Robertsport or in Bakreve or in Sangunda or in Foya. So just you being the UP chairman, I'm just asking you, sir, when you go home, when the story of corruption is being told, the tale is being told, I hope we tell the entire story. That's just my personal recommendation. We tell the entire story that that the stealing of these monies is not just in isolation of actual consequences on people's lives. These things have actual implications. That when a guy builds a house with government money he steals, is because a child somewhere doesn't have the facility or the equipment or the capital to go to school. That some child is being ripped off of medical assistance or medical care he or she needs.
All right.
Then we tell the actual story.
I don't mind doing that, but because I'm a lawyer, I cannot convict somebody before he's actually convicted. All right? What I'm interested in is empowering the institutions so that they can carry out the work of detecting corruption and punishing for corruption. But since we set up the Corruption Bureau, how many corruption police officers have we employed? People who are employed for the sole purpose of investigating corruption matters. How many lawyers have we employed? People who are employed for the sole purpose of investigating corruption matters. So it's one thing to put an institution up, put the 5-man members there, but yet it doesn't have the kind of operational or administrative staff to be able to accomplish the desired results. That's why I mean we have to invest in it. We have to be serious about it. Because, my friend, you and I know that corruption is usually between 2 or more persons. Each of them is guilty. There is no innocent partner. The one who is giving is just as guilty as the one who is receiving. The one who's cooperating with the minister or whoever it is to take the money or take the property, he's just as guilty in his own way. So to be able to detect, investigate, and find out the facts of corruption and prosecute somebody to the logical conclusion of a guilty verdict, that's a very, very serious matter. So we need to invest in it in terms of employing corruption police, employing corruption lawyers, really empowering them to do this work. The commission alone is not good enough. It's just not good enough.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Sherman. Here again, you advocate for an affirmative action program that will resolve certain business transactions with the Liberian government exclusively to Liberian entrepreneurs and outsourcing of certain governmental activities. For example, you mentioned janitorial services and messenger services. So when I saw this part, I wonder how far is this part from the liberalization policy, even though you indirectly alluded to when you say you're not talking about bricks making and the rest of it. But I thought that the liberalization policy, had reserved certain specific kind of businesses. Is that something you're suggesting that we improve on, or you calling for a new and different kind of affirmative action, sir?
It's new and different. Liberian government is the single largest purchaser of goods and services. Is the single largest owner of construction projects or any kind of contractual project. And all I'm saying when I say affirmative action, Liberians should be given first preference for these. Liberians should be given first preference for these contracts. And I'm not just saying give Liberians first preference for these contracts and then just say, oh, we publish it and no Liberian bidder for it. I'm saying take the risk with Liberians. Take the risk with Liberians. This is what I'm saying. And that makes it affirmative. For example, like I said, go to Liberia, go to Monrovia, go around and say, I just want to find out the stationery stores that are in Liberia. Most of the stationery stores are owned by foreigners. If the Liberian government were to say, we buy stationery only from Liberian companies, you will see the other Liberian companies blossoming. Honestly. You see that blossoming like roses. So these are the kind of things I'm talking about. I said, look, contract out some of these things. Why is it that all the janitors have to be on Liberian payroll? You don't think we have Liberians who are qualified to sell to Liberian companies and will outsource these kind of things to them? We've got to do things differently from how it was done during J.J. Roberts' time, or even during Tubman time, or even during Talbot time. It has to be new and different. We have to be resourceful. All geared towards what? empowering Liberians. Making them have a stake in Liberia's tomorrow and in its future. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you. That's well understood. If you're just joining us, please dial *61 if you have any question, comment, or concern for Councillor Sherman. I think it's fair to say now we are discussing the speech. That's why it has come down to. And I got a text message not too long ago from a gentleman who asked me where to find his speech. I don't know if you're going to have time to see the speech before during the duration of this show, but I found it on Google. Just type Councillor Varney Sherman full-name Independence Day speech. There's so many copies of it. That's where I got my copy. So that is your answer. We'll take 5500 again. I believe this was Debater from New York. Debater, welcome back to the show. Your question quickly.
Councillor Sherman, I am not a big fan of the Unity Party government. But the road construction, I must say that is something that I admire a lot, because I have experienced that services do not go to where they are really needed. But that is not going to be my question right now. But can you tell me, I'm interested in two things that the Unity Party failed to do in the last 6 years. Two things that in your mind they really failed to do that should have been done.
I was expecting you, who not, how you call it, somebody who supports us, to be the one to tell me that. Now you're asking me to tell you that? You're not being fair to me, man.
Well, I think he's trying to gauge your level of honesty. Not that anyone has any doubt, especially reading this July 26th Independence Day oration from you. Like Stephen Joplin said earlier, I sent out a completely different side of you, a side that many people did not know, me included. So I think that question is more about. To knowing, if you as a party chairman can, I know, like you said, nothing can be 100%. You said that many times, and so there's no doubt in my mind that there are things that you know, or at least you believe. And reading through the report, you can also see that it's clear, it's clear that there are certain things where you don't think your party did so well in that it ought to do. But I believe the caller likes to hear it from yourself.
Maybe he should do what you done.
What is that?
I'm oration.
You should read this?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Councillor Sherman, what kind of country do we have? What kind of country is Liberia, where a country where a little child will admire a lawyer? I mean, I really like this, the story, your personal story that you concluded your speech on. A country where a little boy sitting along the road will admire a lawyer, but that child can never grow up to be like that lawyer. I like that story. Do you care to, comment on that a little bit? How can we change that? Well, all of what's been said here, all of what's in the report, is there any guarantee that when all of these things, or at least most of it, are put in place, can that situation change for the better? Is that what you believe?
Yes. Well, first, free education. Free and compulsory education. That's one. Two, for Liberia itself to identify its priorities in terms of its manpower needs, so that it invests in those Liberians who will pursue the professions in those needs that the country is going to have in the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years. My friend, we do not know in Liberia today how many masons we're going to need 5 years from now, 10 years from now. How many electricians, how many plumbers. We don't know those things. We don't know how many chemists or biologists we're going to need. We don't even know how many lawyers we're going to need, or how many accountants. And we don't even know, we have not structured our needs to say, of all of these needs we have, these are the ones that we give priority to and invest in. When we do those kind of things, then that little boy will not be sitting on the rocks during school time.
Okay. Thank you. It's been brought to my attention that some people have been trying to ask questions being dying star 61. I haven't been seeing it. And so I'm going to pick a few people just to make sure that they have not been trying to ask questions. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Other people seem to be coming through just fine. But just to be sure, let me pick a few people in the above queue here. 3414, are you there? 919 area code 3414. Hello? Okay. Some people don't like to reveal their identity. 0755. Well, welcome to the Liberian Diaspora Forum. Your name, where you calling from, and your question for Councillor Sherman. 0755.
Thank you very much. My name is Siaka A. Kroma. Let me first salute the Councillor Heron, Varney, Bato, Nabi Sherman, the most learned councillor, a corporate lawyer. Councillor, I say hi.
How are you, sir?
Thank God. I don't know whether you would care to comment on this one, because I feel that it's somehow, essential. Looking at corruption, and sometimes we look at the root, like it's often said, sometimes look at where you stomp your toes is not where you fall down. I'm looking at the dual currency issue, and because there is a law that backing that, and you've been a lawyer, but probably it is not been implemented. The law that makes central bank today called central bank, when it was before the National Bank of Liberia, that act, that is the Liberian Code of Law of 1956, and Section 1173 of Statute 35, and a code that is on currency. The monitoring unit of Liberia, or a legal tender, should be the Liberian dollar divided into 100 cents. The Liberian dollar should be the currency of Liberia and legal tender. Prices for all transactions in Liberia should be indicated in Liberian dollar and cents. And I don't want to go further. This quotation, and looking at our Liberian situation presently, and you've been a lawyer, and this is, it is enacted, and up to now we're still using dual currency, and you observe that it's also tantamount to, or it's also a recipe to this whole corruption. That is my own view. I stand to be corrected. And having this law, and it's not been implemented. So how do you look at that, Councillor?
Okay.
Before I go here.
Okay, thank you. Dual currency issue, Councillor Sherman. Do you have anything to say to that?
Yes. Our currency law is a chapter in the act that created what is now called the Central Bank of Liberia. And that law says that the Liberian dollar and the United States dollar are both legal tender in Liberia. It also says any national currency of any other country may also be used for the discharge of public and private debts in Liberia. That is the law that was passed during the Charles Taylor administration, the law that created the Central Bank of Liberia. So the 56 code is not relevant. But even then, you should look at the law that created the National Bank of Liberia. That particular law also has a provision on the legal tender of Liberia, and said that both the United States dollars and the Liberian dollar are legal tender in Liberia. It is the 1977 Revenue Code, which is no longer law in Liberia because it had been repealed by the 2000 Revenue Code. The 1977 Revenue and Finance Law, it is in there that it is provided that one may not refuse the Liberian dollar in discharge of any public or private obligation, even though the United States dollar is also legal tender in the Republic of Liberia. So, but again, like I said, that 77 Revenue and Finance Law has been repealed by the 2000 Revenue Code, completely repealed. And of course, the National Bank of Liberia Act of 1974 has also been repealed by the 2000 law creating the Central Bank of Liberia. So, sir, I wish you had not come into this area which I practiced for the last as a lawyer and quoting these laws for you.
Okay. Thank you. We're taking a caller here. Folks, we've been here over an hour, actually over about an hour, 30 minutes now, and obviously the time difference. The consular is on the East Coast. We have 1 hour time difference, so in other words, we'll not be keeping him on the line forever. We will probably start winding down here. So if you haven't had a chance to ask your question, make your comment, and I'll express your concern, by all means, please dial *61 on your phone, and we will take your questions over. We probably have about another half an hour left, or a little less, so just so you know. Here's a Canada caller, Winnipeg, Canada, 1797. Your name, your question for Councillor Sherman, Winnipeg, Canada.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. My name is Abu Dukle, and I'm calling from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I want to first of all express my thanks and appreciation to the Councillor for giving us his time today to dialogue on national issues of our beloved Liberia. My question to you, Councillor, I'm sorry if this question has been repeated or not. I just got on the show. It's regarding the Sam Davy agreement Liberia signed with the Malaysian-based company, Sam Davy, as well as Golden Verolium, an Indonesian company as well. But I will start with the one, Sam Davy in Grand Cape Mon, which that's where you come from. And I, as a renowned corporate lawyer in Liberia, I'm sure you are very familiar with a lot of the issues I'm going to bring up. But I know, having done a bit of a research on you, I found that one of the corporations you represented was the Firestone Corporation in Liberia. My question specifically is regarding the terms of those contracts. For Sam Davy, it says the contract, the agreement is for 63 years, and Golden Valerium is 65 years. With that said, in your opinion as a corporate lawyer, and based on the experience Liberians have had with Firestone, a contract that was signed for, I believe it was 99 years, as we were told, with all of the ramifications that emanated from that contract or that agreement, do you think, in your humble opinion as a corporate lawyer, and being in corridor of power by way of being chairman of the ruling Unity Party, do you think these contracts serve Liberian interests?
Thank you.
That's an interesting question. But wait, let me first say something. All right. One has to understand the, for lack of a better word, the industry of each investment contract in order to be able to support it or criticize it. Now, you're talking about agricultural contracts for oil palm and I think rubber in the case of Sam Davy. Sam Davy is doing, I think, both oil palm and rubber, mostly oil palm. When you go into, and I can say these things because of my experience with these things and because I've studied them too, when you go into these things, you see that the investor asks for the concession agreement, the length of the concession agreement is on what they call it the planting cycle. If you give an investor in the oil palm business a concession agreement for 25 years or 30 years, then that will be just one planting cycle. Now, what do I mean? If you, like Sam David is now planting oil palm, right? That oil palm tree will be productive for another 30 years. From the time they planted it to the time it matures, until the time they start cutting palm nut from it, for 30 years it's finished. So there is no incentive for the investor to put certain infrastructure, put certain market situations in the country, because he has one planting cycle. The years they have constitute two planting cycles. If you could tell me, say, look, here's another country that gives similarly situated as Liberia, that gives one planting cycle as an investment contract to oil palm production, we'll bring that to Liberia and question the Liberian government. But the minimum they gave is two planting cycles. Am I there?
Yeah, we are here. We'll listen to you, Councillor.
So that's what comes into the consideration for the length of time. Unlike the mineral industry, for example, you will find the Liberian government gives 25 years. Within 25 years, you should have been able to exploit all the iron ore you want, or all the gold or whatever you want. In the oil industry, 25 years. After 25 years, it's a completely new contract. But agriculture, that is rubber and oil palm, something like those, they give you two planting cycles.
Okay.
That's how the time is determined, according to the industry.
Okay. Is that it?
Am I clear?
Are you there? Yeah, you're clear, Councillor. Or just making sure you're done. Well, thank you. Let me, before I take some follow-up calls here, let me do some housekeeping things. For those of you who just joining us, let me once again welcome you to the Liberian Diaspora Forum, weekly talk show. And I must admit that I'm a bit surprised, because clearly there are so many of you here. I'm surprised by the number of questions coming in. Having said that, I've also announced that we haven't got much time left. We will be letting the counselor spend some time with family, something that that's probably part of what he came to do, and so not to be on this show. We appreciate this time for coming. After the show right now, if you will listen to a repeat broadcast of tonight's show, immediately after the show, at least up until I have time to put the show up on YouTube, the number to dial for repeat broadcast will be 559-726-1299. The same access code will let you listen to a repeat broadcast of tonight's show, at least up until I have time to upload the show on YouTube, just like I've done with many of our previous shows. Our guest next week probably will be Representative Akaras Gray, we call him, possibly. I spoke with him, and when I confirm that, I will let you know. While we are with so many of you to make your entry, I will take a few follow-up questions. And let me also state that Mr. Dean Wilson is still here. By all means, if you have any follow-up question, because I had limited you briefly earlier, but the fact that I'm taking follow-up questions from the same people, which I really don't like to do, I usually don't do, because I feel then that the show is being monopolized, but I think that's what I have to deal with tonight. By all means, if you have follow-up question, Mr. Dean, please dial *61. I'll take your question again. That's a promise. We take a new caller, and then I will go to some of you previous callers who like to make follow-up questions. 3861, 3861. The name where you calling from, your question for Councillor Sherman. 3861.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Harris, man. I'm calling from Richfield, Minnesota.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Harris. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My question for Honorable Sherman is, first of all, let me let him know that I'm a partisan, but I am just
concerned about certain things. I want to know where the party stands, after Ellen Johnson's leave. That's my first question.
Okay. You got a second one?
I don't understand where the party stands.
Hello, are you there, Mr. Harris? Mr. Harris,
yeah.
Yeah, what the party saying? What in terms of what? What are you saying?
My question is, where does the party stand after Ellen Sally leaves office?
Okay, you got a second one, or that's your question? That's it?
Well, that's a major one, actually.
Okay, thank you. So, actually, I have something like that on my piece of paper. The viability of the party UP beyond 2017. We know that historically, many Liberian political parties, have been about individual and not, for the most part. For instance, NPP, for instance, is that NPP or NP? Is it NPP? NPP, right? There's no question that was about Charles Taylor. Once Charles Taylor saw the picture, the party went down. When Doe got out of his party, that was almost the end of that party. And so people believe without George Weah, CDC might not be what it is. So the same for UP. I believe the caller question has to do with how viable is UP without Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in the next election, Councillor?
I think we are going to remain strong. And to criticize NPP because Chancellor is no longer there, if you know anything about Liberia, you know NPP has several members in the legislature. Why is it unless somebody is president then there is no politics? Why do we perceive Liberian politics to be that the party must have the presidency or there is not participating in politics? Tell me. You know that there are several members of the Liberian Senate who come from the National Patriotic Party, don't you?
I do.
You know that
we have Senator Joy Howard Taylor on here, yeah.
Come again?
I said we had Senator Joy Howard Taylor on the show twice from the NPP
why
party.
Why will you assume that because Taylor is not there, the party is dead? Why will you?
Well, it may not be dead, but it's certainly not what it used to be for a party that won almost landslide election, and then when you look at the national election, what was NPP position? But they didn't even come close to that third place. So I think that's the point. They may be.
The NPP collaborated with the CDC during the 2011 election. And together they came second place. They won several seats in the legislature. I can tell you that Unity Party will be a formidable, competitive political party after Ellen Sirleaf. I'm convinced about that.
Okay. Well, at least that was from a person.
Don't forget that I come from the Liberia Action Party. And that was the same assumption that after 2005 election, Varney Sherman lost, Liberia Action Party is dead. How will we be dead? You think President Sirleaf will have come to us to ask us for a merger?
I guess not. But you bring up an interesting point, Councillor Chairman.
As educated as we are and as sophisticated as you people in the United States should be, you look at the presidency as the only job, as the only political job in Liberia. If a political party doesn't have the presidency, then it has nothing. If that is the attitude we all will assume, then what do? We make Liberia a one-party state, and we make the government a president's government, and not a government of three branches.
Okay. But you mentioned something else when the party you come from, the party that you came from before merging with UP. So what happened since we don't know who's going to be the next candidate or the candidates for UP, next time around, 2017? So what will happen to the marriage, the merger that is between your party and UP right now? Do you foresee that staying the way it is, or you're gonna go on your own?
Why would you even suggest that we'll go on our own? We are now one political party.
Okay.
And we are there for the keeps.
Great. I hope it stays that way.
Political parties, instead of organizing new political parties, we see the sense in coming together to minimize the number of political parties in Liberia. Look at Ghana. That has a population maybe 7 times ours. You have 2 major political parties. In Liberia, we have so many I can't count.
Yeah, that's really sad. That breaks my heart. That's sad. So, folks, those of you in the queue waiting to ask follow-up questions, Mr. Wilson, Cllr, Winnipeg, Jabata, New York, and Croma, Philadelphia, I'll get to you. I'm trying to take new callers. And like I said, we don't have much time, but I promise you I'll get to each of you here very shortly. Let's take a new caller, 9271, 9271. Your name, where you calling from, and your question for Councilor Sherman.
Yeah, this is George Toto.
George Toto.
Yeah, I'm calling from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moderator, and also thanks to the chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my concern, if I quote you right, when you are just going orator for the July 26th Independence Day celebration program, and one of the key points you stressed in that statement, if I quote you right, you said once a Liberian is always a Liberian. And when you made mention of the issue of dual citizenship, if I really read that statement correct in the media,
right?
If I made that statement. But my concern is that you all seen the importance of the dual citizenship issue from political standpoint, from party standpoint. I don't know whether you guys are really involved in the fight for it to push it to the legislature, or you guys just saying it by somebody just talking and expressing out.
Okay.
You know what's the frustration for some of us?
No, sir.
They say, you are here. Why are you fighting for them over there and they are not fighting for themselves? The gentleman who asked the question, did you hear my question?
Yeah, he's listening.
In the legislature are asking, why are we fighting for you? And you are not fighting for yourself as much as you should. And you know the answer they gave? You are doing it because if you succeed, then all of them will be what? Voters for you tomorrow. You have to help us fight for you, and you have to fight with us. In fact, you got to be the forefront. If not, people will accuse us of just that. You're trying to get what? Members for your party. You're trying to get sympathizers for your party. That's why you are fighting for this thing.
Okay.
So I wish you would look at it that way, that you who are here, who are going to be the ultimate beneficiaries of this thing, you are the ones who are supposed to be leading this fight. And we who are in Liberia supposed to be holding your hand up. Instead, you are asking me, why aren't we putting our hand and shouting in the halls of the legislature?
But Councilor, are we not leading the fight, though? I think we are leading the fight through ULA, through the largest Liberian organizations here. I know that people sponsored, affiliated with ULA were just in Liberia not too long ago, sometime this year. And every opportunity they've had, by the way, George Toto himself is an official of ULA, and every opportunity they've had to connect with Liberian officials, with policy makers, they put the case forward. So how can you say they're not fighting the issue?
How can I say?
Yeah, how can you say they're not fighting the issue? I think.
No,
yeah.
You didn't understand me. I said the question that the members of the legislature asked us.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
Those guys from ULA, if you ask them, I gave them audience. And I told them that to the best of my ability, I will continue to advocate the cause because I believe in the cause not necessarily for you, but necessarily for the future of our country. If you take into consideration the number of Liberians that are out of Liberia, that's almost 20% of our population.
And I like the part when you said
not populated. You don't want to alienate your own citizens. I don't know how to put it. But,
right. I know. You also talked about the fact that if Eddie doesn't do it, the next person coming after her will do it, and that person will become the hero, not Ellie. So I know you put it that way, and that was very deliberate. But thank you. Judge Toto, by all means, if you have a follow-up question, EULA official, please come again. We will give you the chance. Now, with the remaining time, I'll take these quick follow-up callers, and as I promised, we'll get a counselor out of here. It's funny, when we are nearing the end, then questions are piling up. Apparently people wanted to get a gist of it, to know where we're heading with it, but unfortunately we might not get to all of these questions now. I'll take these follow-up callers because I promised to do so. We'll start with Randolph in New York. Mr. Randolph, welcome back to the show. Your follow-up question quickly.
I'm just trying to make a suggestion to the Unity Party-led government through the chairman of the party. Most of the time, you do give vacation job to students. My proposal is we need to create vacation academic but study program to gifted and students that are well prepared, so that we can continue to support those students. Instead of vacation job, we can put them in a program that they will, advance themselves. Most especially those that are gifted, those that are well prepared to continue their study instead of vacation job.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Counselor, do you care to add or take the next one?
What? No, I want to add to his comment.
Okay. All right. I'll take a quick follow-up from Wilson, D. Wilson again. Mr. Wilson, sorry for the long wait, and welcome back to the show quickly.
Counselor, again, I want to just, we tend to, as Liberians, look for what's wrong with people, but if we begin to look at the good in people, then we can acknowledge or know good things. I'm not a fan of your party. Again, I really want to admonish you, and I want to acknowledge the fact that the voice that was raised at the Independence Day oration was one that some of us encouraged. People like Varney, if you talk, we have more Varneys, more Malus, more of those people who are raising the consciousness of our people, then there's a better day tomorrow. But I want to say on that note that there's a huge disparity between what you espouse and what your party, in fact, is doing. And I also want to mention as an observation that the reason all this anger that is against dual citizenship is a result of that 75% of the people who earn over $5,000 or $10,000 a month are all people from here in the U.S. who you see the faces of Liberian, they're angry, and to see those people taking jobs that are sapping, looking more like they're outsiders coming in. So we hope that will change, and we pray that you will continue to look at the bigger picture like you said. One of my only last observations, we pray that we can sustain peace. Again, it took a constitutionally elected president to be disgraced for war, and it's sitting now in the head that our country will never see war anymore. We pray that there will not be an analogy where we take a constitutionally elected president to be disgraced for corruption, for our country not to see corruption anymore. And the people are angry, Counselor. These people have needs, and you accentuated most of those needs in your message. Your party is disconnected from some of the very things that you said. So I just want to give a word of advice that we may have to create more Varneys, more that speech you gave, considering that with the reality of what is unfolding in Liberia, there are two different words. Well, keep in mind what I said. I just want to make that point, and then I would end by saying I hope we don't, just like we're not repeating war, because no president will come in this country and talk about war anymore. Hopefully we don't have to disgrace the president for the next president not to repeat corruption. Those are issues that we need to be praying for. So on that note, thank you very much, Counselor, and may God bless you, and God bless our little country.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Thank you. And we will Okay. Then let me take a quick follow-up comment or question from Philadelphia. Sacramento, Philadelphia. Quickly.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, Councillor, you spoke on this currency, and I just want to ask you again another two more questions quickly. You regularly say, if I tend to be corrected, that both currencies should be accepted equally. But we observe that the brand dollar sometimes been rejected, and that happens at the foreign affair, when sometimes you're trying to get your passport. That is one. And the second question would be, we heard that you, as the chairman, after Madam Cllr 2017, you were elected to be the standard bearer. So if you care to comment, sir.
Okay.
What I would like to be, and for which I have raised my hand at this time, is to be a senator from Grand Cape County. And those elections are going to be held in October 2014.
Okay. Would you have to resign from your current UP party chairman position before running? Is that a requirement, or you don't have to? So I'm just.
I don't have to. It's not a requirement.
Oh, great. That's good. That's good. All right, Josh Toto, quickly, your follow-up question for Mr. Sherman.
Thank you, moderator. Thank you, Councillor, for the issue I was trying to address on the issue of the dual citizenship. I know that ULAB is in the forefront to fight the dual citizen issue, but the point I was trying to raise for good Liberians, that people like you that share the same sentiment that we share in the diaspora, to join the force in Liberia, to make it happen and whatsoever. And quite example, that's part of it, not a negative thought from the ground also, but we see the importance of the issue here. So as I was saying, is just a mere talk, or you are in the forefront? But we want a full involvement of the entire people that say good stuff about it here. That's the point I'm trying to raise. But that's what I'm trying to get to trying to eradicate the statement that you made.
I appreciate you have my full support on that, not only because of you who are going to benefit from this law, but also because it is good for Liberia. In fact, more importantly, because it is good for Liberia. 20% of our population, we have our population 2.5, 2.7 million, maximum 3 million. You have, almost 500,000 Liberians out of Liberia. We need to do something to attract them back to Liberia. We need to do something to cause them to want to invest in their homeland.
Okay.
I think it will make Liberia a better place for all of us.
Okay.
So that is
Thank you, Council. Yeah. Go ahead, Councilor. You got the floor.
Some of us are even now discussing the constitutionality of the law that appears to deprive you of your citizenship. And if we get to a place where we believe that it's unconstitutional, we might just file a lawsuit.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilor. I mean, the issue of dual citizenship, something just tells me that it's only a matter of time, but at the end of the day, it's going to go through. I don't know how, but I
really believe that it will go through.
Nearly every government Liberian that have been on this show, not just government officials, from senators to Supreme Court justices.
There are some of us who are suggesting that look, if you must put some restrictions, which means if you are a dual citizen, you cannot hold.
You can't be president.
You cannot hold elected position. We mean you cannot be elected to the House of Representatives, to the legislature, or to the presidency, something like that.
Okay.
So that people will be more comfortable. So that the people will be more comfortable to pass the law.
Okay. All right. Councilor, before I take my last follow-up call for the night, which will be Nuclear from Winnipeg, before I take his call, let me ask you this question. Let me straightforward. How do I own part of Liberia policy? That is something I took out of your Independence Day oration that I talked to so much because it's so beautifully written. And I like the part where you talked about, when people have stake in something, they think twice before they, give into violence. Or do you care to just briefly elaborate on only part of Liberia policy, sir?
the only part of Liberia policy, and that's part of it when you talk about dual citizenship, but the only part of Liberia policy is that let people own real property in Liberia. Let people see themselves as having the opportunity for jobs, opportunities for self-development, the opportunity for self-actualization. Let people see themselves participating in Liberia's future. All right? Now, for example, and you might not know, but do you know that the Ghanaian government has a policy that encourages non-resident Ghanaians to construct homes in Ghana with loans that are guaranteed by the Liberian government but obtained from private banks? Do you know the go are saying, if you want to, we will design the building and construct it on your behalf, and you get a mortgage in the same way as you can get a mortgage in the United States?
Wow.
All get toward getting non-resident Liberians to have an interest, Ghanaians to have an interest in their country. So there are a multitude of ways to get Liberians to own a stake in their country, to own a part of their country, to tie their future and their livelihood and their basic sustenance to their country. This is what we're asking for.
Okay.
We want your children to want to go back to Liberia if they choose to.
Okay.
We want your grandchildren to be able to do that if they choose to. That's what I'm talking about. They know that they can go. Look, I don't know how to say it. If you are in Liberia and for whatever reason your children are living in the United States and they acquire citizenship in the United States, are you going to be encouraged to invest in Liberia if your children cannot acquire and own that investment because they are not citizens of Liberia?
It's not.
What we are doing, shooting ourselves right in the feet? I don't know what to say.
Yeah, you've said it all, Councillor. You've said it. It can't be said better than that. With that said, let's take our last caller for the night, a follow-up caller, if I might add, and then shortly after that, we'll leave it here for the night. Mr. Duckner, Winnipeg, Canada, welcome back to the show. Your follow-up question, quickly, sir.
Thank you again, Mr. Moderator, and once again, Councillor, thank you very much for your time. My question to you is that, if history is anything to go by, really, Liberian politics has demonstrated over the years that our political parties are parties based on personalities. If our recent history is anything to go by, I think that's very obvious, as much as I know you've tried to rebut that particular argument, but I think it is true. And one of the things I've observed, as they always said...
So, excuse me, so you are suggesting I should get out of politics?
Pardon me? No.
All of us who are in politics, we should get out. We are wasting our time.
That's not what I'm saying. The point being, they say a perception in politics is reality. And I think that is so true in the case of Liberia. And the reason why I'm saying this is that your oration on July 26th this year, in a nutshell, what you were suggesting in that speech, you were actually suggesting to the Unity Party to chart a new course, simply because what has transpired to date has been a dismal failure in specific area that you mentioned. And I would take it that what you meant to say that, based on my own analogy, is that if things continue as they were or as they are, you don't see us getting out of this mess we are in as you outlined in the speech. So, what is your role? Having given that speech, and Liberians have heard it, what has been your role since then, as far as talking to the inner people who are surrounding the president and policymakers who are supposed to be making some of these things happen in Liberia?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, you probably was not listening to the. You probably were not listening to the beginning of the program. But I told you that the president invited me at the 26-day program to work with her on some of these recommendations I made. But in addition to that, she wrote me a letter. So the president took very seriously the recommendations I made. But these are not recommendations that can be accomplished overnight. That was July 26th. This is just September what? 29. August, September, 2 months. So let's wait and see what comes out of these recommendations. Please, let's be a little patient.
Okay. Councillor, thank you. It's been a great night, and I know since you didn't have an opening remark, because as you said, I invited you, and you didn't prepare anything, I would assume that you don't have any closing remark either. But still, I got just 2 questions here that I'd like you to close on tonight, and then I want you to address these questions as a lawyer, a good lawyer that you are, not a politician. One of them has to do with the
you for my services.
Well, by the way, I was going to ask you, did you get your July 26th that you started your speech with? I noticed you.
Oh, honestly, nobody has bothered to give my 26th. They say,
oh, man.
Need it. Yeah, they say I don't need it.
No, I think you deserve it. It was a great speech, and I like that part. My July 26th on your. But going back to the question, Councillor, recently we had the privilege of meeting with one of the associate justices of the Supreme Court of Liberia, in person of Honorable Cabinet Janet at the Organization of Liberians in Minnesota Hall, and we had a roundtable discussion. It was a small gathering, and he talked about the rape law in Liberia. The law was written with good intent, the men well, but as it is, according to the associate justice, it is becoming to be troublesome, whereby there's people believe that there are a lot of people lying on people rape now, but still the way the law is written, once someone cry rape, you go to jail, and the crime is it's not bailable according to him. So sometimes people are locked up for anywhere between 3 to 6 months, a year to 2, and then when the case finally goes to court, sometimes the person who cried rape can't be located. They disappear in thin air, and yet somebody had been locked up for a good portion of their life, and there's nothing to compensate for that. I want you to comment on that. That's one. 2, the second one has to do with Front Page Africa editor. Is this here? I hope I'm saying his name right. His current situation, his current imprisonment. What's your take on that? What do you think? Is it justifiable, or what do you think as a lawyer? Thank you.
Look, again, I'm not one of those lawyers who claim to know all of the law. All right? I'm not a criminal lawyer, and I'm a corporate and commercial lawyer. So I don't take my comments to be the law of Liberia. I know a little bit about the rape law. Yes, it is true that the law as structure says that once you are charged, not necessarily accused, once you are charged for commission of a crime or rape, it is not bailable, which means you will stay in jail until the trial is conducted. If you are found not guilty, then you'll be released. If you are found guilty, of course, you remain in jail. Now, what the justice was saying that when you look at the Constitution of Liberia, that says that the right to bail should be easy and simple, then people begin to question whether that law is constitutional. The law that says that if you are charged for rape, then it is not bailable. Even in the case of murder, the law is that in order to be denied bail, then the presumption must not be great. That's the only time you can be denied bail for murder. But for rape, it's just all right. Once you are charged, you are denied bail. So we wonder whether it doesn't interfere with one's fundamental right to bail. Okay? And what the justice talk about is that, look, if people are going to accuse, women are going to accuse men of rape, they put them in jail, time for trial or time for hearing, you can't find them. then you are punishing people who may not have committed a crime. And the fundamental premise of our criminal justice system is that no innocent person should be made to suffer the consequences of a crime at all. So I think those are legitimate concerns that the justice raised. And I think in the light of those concerns, I believe that people are looking at this law. But they are also looking at this law in the context of the fact that the women in Liberia today constitute a very strong political constituency. And politicians do not want to anger them. Okay? Politicians do not want to anger them. And because politicians do not want to anger them, politicians, as much as they look at that law, and perhaps they look at the inequities of that law, they are concerned that if they touch the law, they will anger this very strong constituency. Because here's what Article 21D 1 says. All accused persons shall be bailable upon their personal recognizance. And that means that if I'm accused of a crime, I can stand out there and say, I am no harm to society. I have never before committed any crime, and I'm a permanent person in society, so on my personal recognizance, release me. When it's time for trial, I will appear. Alternatively, they say, by sufficient sureties. By sufficient sureties. The only exception is if you are charged for capital offense or grave offenses as defined by law. It is this or grave offenses as defined by law that the drafters of the rape law took advantage of and said that for rape, you're not entitled to bail. But again, I think anybody trying to touch that law runs the risk of a very strong political constituency that is the women group. I hope you understand what I mean.
Yeah, I do, sir. I do.
The other question you asked was the situation
Ronnie Sear, the front page Africa. Ronnie Sear.
Of Ronnie Sear. Now, that is a situation that, worries too many people. That's a situation that worries too many people. And why do I say it worries too many people? It worries people because we do not have a limitation on our libel law as to what the damages should be. In this case, I'm told that Crystal asked for $2 million in damages. The jury awarded him $1.5 million. Now, it could have been interpreted that the award that Crystal asked for was so high because he did not want Ronnie Sear to see the face of the Supreme Court in the event Crystal, succeeded. Because the law requires that in order to see the face of the Supreme Court on appeal, in the judgment, monetary judgment against you, you should post a bond 1.5 times the value of the monetary judgment. It meant that Ronnie Sear had to put up a bond of $2.25 million. That is the $1.5 million, and another half of that, which is 75, together will be $2.25 million.
U.S. dollar, right?
U.S. dollars. You got U.S. dollar damages brought against him. But the law also says that the appeal bond, will be only real property that has no encumbrance on it, where all the taxes have been paid, or surety by an insurance company. To the best of my knowledge, no insurance company has that kind of asset in Liberia, $2.25 million. You would not be able to find any property, real property, that has no encumbrance on it to the value of $2.25 million. So even if Ron this year wanted to, he couldn't find a bond. Even if he had a cash, he couldn't put out the bond because our law would not accept cash. Even if he took that cash to the bank and the bank gave him a banker's check, that is a cashier's check or a manager's check, or gave him a bank guarantee, our Supreme Court has said unacceptable. The only thing they will accept is insurance company or a real property to that value, which is unencumbered with all taxes paid.
Wow.
Now,
okay.
So Ron this year could not put up the bond, and so the Supreme Court did not hear his case. His appeal was dismissed on a procedural basis. That is, he had not put up the bond.
Okay.
Now,
right.
Ron this year is in jail because both he, as an individual, and Front Page as a company were both the defendants in this case. And also, libel is one of those civil disputes. Normally, one doesn't go to jail for monetary judgment in Liberia. But libel is one of those civil disputes where the law says that if you are found liable and you cannot pay the damages, then you go to jail. But I wish that the press union had seen this as a freedom of press issue when the case was first filed. Because had they been involved when the case was first filed, a jury might not have brought a verdict. But now that they are involved after the Supreme Court decision, it's a little difficult. The concern that too many people have is that if one follows the logic of the law, then Rhodesia will die in jail. Rhodesia will die in jail. Because if he's going to if he's going to pay the $1.5 million on the basis of $25 a month in jail, then of course you know he's going to die in jail. So where's the equity? Where's the fairness? Can people say at this time that whatever reputation of Crystal that may have been damaged, that reputation has already been restored by the number of days that Ronnie Sear has already been in jail?
And by the verdict too, yeah.
All right. By the verdict itself.
Yeah.
But again, I can only speculate.
Okay. Now, does Madam Salif has any power in this matter because she's been blamed for looking the other way? Does she actually has the authority to pardon or get into it and resolve the matter other ways?
No.
Okay.
Because this is a civil suit between two private individuals. If Madam Salif were to interfere in this, which other one she wouldn't be required to interfere in? Follow,
right.
Do you see the predicament she's faced with?
Right.
So it is really a serious matter that people ought to take into consideration, including Dr. Cristo himself. What do we stand to gain? What does he stand to gain by the continuous incarceration of Ronnie Sear?
So that reminds. So can he go back now that his reputation has been restored? Does he is he able to decide otherwise, or this case is within in the Supreme Court, and so he doesn't even have the authority to? Can he waive the money that's owed him, and could that lead to some sort of a resolution of this matter? Yes,
because it is a money judgment. If he says that he doesn't want it, and consider all with, the man will be released.
Great. Well,
the man has not an offense. He has not.
Yeah, go ahead.
This year did not commit an offense against the government. he did not commit an offense against the public, it's not a criminal offense. It's completely a civil suit. And if he pays the money, he has been satisfied. If he doesn't pay the money, but the judgment creditor, that is Mr. Dr. Christo, says, I don't want any money. All right? I'm satisfied. My reputation has been restored. The justice system has said that I was wrong. I'm finished with it. The man will be released.
Have you heard Kofi who I believe was representing the Front Page Africa was the thing we heard over here. They were considering going to ECOWAS court, and some dismissed that right off the back that ECOWAS court really would not have much of an impact on the matter. Do you agree with that assertion?
I'm not an expert on that. I read very little on the ECOWAS court, and but I wouldn't want to comment on that. I'm not an expert on that. What I do know is that another paper has been filed before the Supreme Court to question the constitutionality of the incarceration. I don't know how far that will go, but I think the thing to do is to work with Dr. Christo and get him to understand and appreciate nobody benefits by the continuous incarceration of Varney.
Okay. Well, on that note, Councillor Sherman, I cannot thank you enough. I know I called you so many times. I wanted to host you from Liberia. I'm sure you got fed up with my calls at one point. But now that I have you on the show, I think it was worth it. You've given us some very straightforward answers, honest, responses to questions. I'm so excited. I cannot thank you enough. I do want to thank you, thank your family. I wish you all the best when you do get in the senatorial race on the 14th October. Wish you all the best. Hopefully we'll have another chance with you before October of 2014. That's still quite a way. At least that's still a year away. And if we happen to see a presidential candidate in 2017 called Councillor Varney Sherman, then when we get to that bridge, we'll discuss that. I want to thank you, and I want to thank the listening audience. I want to thank all of you, especially those of you who participated. It's always our pleasure to see people come on here and participate in national discussion. So, Councillor, I want to leave it here. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful night.
Thank you very much. Good night.